Hello and welcome to Power to the People with me, Graeme Pryce. Well, the 13th of September has come and gone, and you'd have to have been slapped with a brick not to have been aware that all the usual suspects were gathering in London to march with Tommeh in order to unite the kingdom, apparently. I'm sure there were some people amongst them there to express their legitimate concerns, but it was also a large attractor for those who are currently doing far-right things, saying far-right things and standing alongside far-right figures while being offended when anybody calls them far-right. A bit like moths to a flame, except the flame is a racist little cokehead and the moths are all pissed on Stella and have swastika tattoos. I felt it would be remiss of me to let it go unremarked upon, but nobody wants to sit looking at my middle-aged mug for the time it would take to explain this one. So I've compiled a compendium of relevant pictures for us to peruse alongside me. Let's take a look at a few images of what the march looked like right after this. I was just looking at my channel analytics and I noticed that 53% of people who watch my videos weren't subscribed. The pain. Come on, just have a quick check that you've subbed, liked and rang the bell. Make a skinny old scouser a little bit happier today. Now, let's address the biggest bullshit claim first. In the last few days, I've heard a lot of different numbers from a lot of different sources. The lowest I've heard was 110,000. And the highest I've heard was, get this, 7 million. 7 million. That's a gap wider than the Mersey Tunnel by anybody's standards. But thankfully, the fact-checking website Full Fact has already addressed this claim by contacting the Metropolitan Police and some other sources. I'll leave a link to their statement about it in the description box. Tommeh said it was 3 million patriots and claimed that the police had told him this. Obviously, he's lying though, because he's Tommy Robinson. So, actually, the police have said they told him no such thing and estimated that there were between 110,000 and 150,000 people in attendance. That's still a lot of people, but it's nowhere near 3 million. Here's a picture of them congregating from above. There were a lot of patriotic scenes of flag wankers with Union Jacks and St. George's crosses, as you'd imagine, but I don't want to be accused of cherry picking the worst images to portray the far right as being like far right. So I'm going to try and be even-handed here. We'll start off with a few of the nicer ones. These guys look like they're protesting peacefully, don't they? They've even spelled "we want our country back" correctly, which is unusual, if not impressive. It's not impressive. I wonder what that guy's answer would be if I was to ask him who he wants to take it back from. He'd probably just look confused and then call me a woke lefty or something, wouldn't he? They don't look too far right, those chaps though, do they? I think it's fair to say that they aren't a very diverse crowd in both ethnicity or age, but at least they aren't chucking bricks at the Rozzers yet. Look at these lot on the march. Looks quite good, that picture, doesn't it? It's an excellent photograph and whoever took that should be quite proud of it. Shame about the people who have got a defiled version of the Union Jack with words on it though. I'm not sure if adding advertising slogans for a right-wing organisation across the middle of the Union Jack is better or worse than painting St. George's crosses on roundabouts to be driven over by fast German cars. But one thing I am sure of is that Unite the Kingdom is a fucking stupid name. Have they not seen a map? Or a globe? The rest of the world has been calling it the United Kingdom since 1922, at least. The only people that seem to want it not to be a united kingdom are the propaganda-driven populist wank shafts that Tommeh and his mates want you to follow. Speaking of which, this dickhead managed to get his awkward wannabe tech geek racist fucking face on the big screen and was allowed to tell 130,000 coked up servings of sentient gammon that violence is the only answer to the impotent rage they feel when they see a boat full of people crossing the channel, or an Indian woman in Asda, or a black man driving a bus. Tommeh agreed, of course, thereby literally committing stochastic terrorism on stage in the middle of London in front of thousands of people. It's not far right though. The next few guys are certainly far right. This is Ben Habib. Do you remember him? He was the one that wanted to drown asylum seekers in the Channel. He was chucked out of Reform for not being racist enough, or being too racist, or something, depending on which member of Reform you ask. He was allowed to get on the stage and, trot out a bit of propaganda and populist shite. Check this specimen out. This is Eric Zemmour. He's been convicted of inciting racial hatred and described by the French authorities, government and police as a dangerous racist and Holocaust denier. He was allowed to speak at the Unite the Kingdom rally and spoke about the Great Replacement Theory, which is basically the most racist conspiracy theory there is. And he also said that we are being colonised by Muslims. And he looks like Joseph Goebbels, a bit creepy bastard. Well, let's have a complete shift in tone, if not ideology. This is Eva Vladingerbroek. She's your standard racist, entitled, white, rich hate monger and harridan of horrible intentions, but she's also a god botherer. She's one of those weirdos that claims to be religious and follow the teachings of the faith, but would have called Jesus a brown, stinking, woke, commie immigrant Jew and had his skinny ass deported to El Salvador to be tortured by Trump's mates if she met him nowadays. Especially if he said his name was Mohammed rather than Jesus. She's an interesting addition though, because she makes me think of how so many of the MAGA loons in America are absolutely convinced that God himself sent Trump to save America. Or that Trump is the second coming, or Jesus himself in some cases. No, seriously, they're out there, and not just a few. There's whole websites. Tommeh made sure the religious folk who had come to see their favourite magic faith wizard shout some bigotry and conspiracy theories on the stage were catered for though, as there were wooden crosses on sale. Here's some lovely patriots with their wooden crosses. I think religion does a lot of good around the world, but it's weird how it always seems to crop up in the worst of times and the worst of places, isn't it? I haven't seen any pictures of crosses burning ominously against the London skyline just yet. So maybe these lot did have good intentions. Tell you who definitely didn't have good intentions though. These guys. These guys might have been amongst the 25 arrested for things such as assaulting the police, causing a public nuisance and inciting racial hatred and such like. The type of things that people with legitimate concerns get up to. The Met Police have reported also that there were 26 police officers injured and 4 of them were seriously injured. I was expecting there to be more than 25 arrested, to be honest. But I suspect the police had been told to only make arrests when absolutely necessary for fear of inciting a pitchfork mob to rise under cries of two-tier justice. These are people that have been convinced that calling for hotels full of children and women to be burnt down comes under the banner of freedom of speech, remember. I'm not so sure I'd like to hear what this guy has to say about anything, really. I can't make out the words next to the knuckle duster tattooed on his face, but I can certainly see the swastika tattooed on his thumb, along with the poppy on his shoulder. Take a proper look at that fella. That is who you're standing alongside when you decide that Tommeh tells it like it is. This is the kind of guy that is frothing at the mouth at the thought of Nigel Farage becoming Prime Minister. Why do you think that is? This is the type of person that will probably end up in government if you vote Reform. Look at this poor old sod. Her father, or certainly her grandfather, probably fought in one or both world wars. And she's sitting there watching a guy with a swastika tattoo, wear a cape with a poppy on it, and claim to be uniting the UK by attacking the police and setting fire to hotels while shouting racist abuse at brown people. No wonder she looks exasperated. How brave is she to come out and face the likes of this? How have we got to a point when little old ladies are fighting for democracy against fellas with a knuckle duster tattooed on their face in the middle of our capital city? Because of this trio of twat bags and people like them. That's why. Let's lighten it up with a couple of idiots. Anyway, there was plenty there to choose from. Apparently, I was right when I said we should expect to see a certain 4-letter logo appearing in the UK in the next year or two. I thought the hats would be blue, though. Maybe they just don't realise that the twat hats are red in America because red is the Republican colour, and that they should probably be light blue, to reflect the glory of Nigel's Reform Party in England. This one almost looks intelligent. Does, doesn't he? Very distinguished. He's peering into the future, pondering on whether he'd rather spend the night with Nigel or Tommeh or both. Oh. Make England great again. Hey, that's what it stands for. I think this can only be further confirmation that none of these dim-witted hatriots have ever seen a globe or a map. The term Great Britain has been traced back to 1474, best part of 600 years ago. We've been calling Britain great for the best part of 600 years. They'd have liked it. In 1474, there'd have hardly been any brown faces anywhere, and you could get a wife by just beating her into submission, as long as you paid off the local clergy and went to church on Sunday and put a couple of farthings or silver coins or whatever they had back then in the collection plate. Maybe we should embrace it and put out the rumour that it actually means make Elon go away, or make equality good again. Yeah. They'd never believe that, would they? I think we should just suggest that it stands for more extremely gullible arseholes that are falling for exactly the same type of bullshit that Trump is doing in America. And what an example America is at the moment, eh? Unite the UK. Does it look very united to you? Thank you for watching if you've gotten this far. I thought we better leave it there. Some questions were beginning to arise that I certainly didn't have the heart to answer, and I'm sure you don't either. Seriously though, I thought it would be strange if I didn't make some sort of video commenting on the Unite the Kingdom event. The more I looked at the social media sites and the more I read what people were saying now, the more angry and depressed it made me. So I decided to do it this way instead of me sitting here having an angry rant about it. Although you can expect plenty of angry rants in the future, of course. We can't deny that 110 to 150,000 people is a lot, but in a country of 68 million, it's a very, very, very tiny part of the population. My mother always said, empty vessels make the loudest noise, and I think she was right to an extent. Tommeh is saying that there were 2 or 3 million because that is what he wants everybody to believe and the rest of the country to think. Don't let him gaslight you. He's being deliberately dishonest. Again. The battle against bullshit and master purveyors of it like Stephen Flaxy Lemon is never ending, and the numbers this week show that while all racists vote reform, not all reform voters want to march in the streets with Tommeh. They're not all racist. Most of them are, granted, but not all of them. If you'd like to assist in my battle against bullshit, you can find the links to PayPal, Patreon and the Buy Me a Coffee page. Joining Antifa just to annoy their racist granddad in the descriptions box. And the join button for memberships is, as always, below. On the subject of racist flag shaggers masquerading as peaceful protesters with legitimate concerns, that isn't all I have to say, obviously, and fundamentally. But it is as much of what I've got to say as I suspect I'll get away with saying today. Ta-ra. Let's address the biggest claim here first. In the last few days, I've heard a lot of different numbers from a lot of different sources about the attendance of the event. Oh, for God's sake. Start again, eh, Anne? Jesus, that wasn't a very good start, was it?